What's going on, everybody? Conservative Video Dipper here. If you got a dip, pack a freaking lip. We're going to be talking about why does Tier 1 fake media do they hate me? And the question is, do they hate me or do they fear me or both? And why do left-leaning YouTubers not like me or they fear me? I wouldn't say that maybe Tier 1 media fears me a lot. I would say they don't like me because they know I call a lot of stuff out. And what they do is pretty much lie consecutively, constantly, every day. They don't know how to be honest or be truthful. Um, and they know that people like me who are uh, tier 2 will call it out and that we will do what we got to do to continue to speak truth and let people know that these medias on tier 1 are perpetuating, I guess you could say, certain alleged things that people wouldn't or shouldn't be fearful of or have to deal with because they're perpetuating a lot of these issues. And kind of goes with the same thing of why left leaning YouTubers sometimes, when I go and react to some of their stuff, they sometimes, instead of doing like two videos, like some of them do, they will go down to one video or they won't do a live anymore because, again, they know that they have been called out by me or by other people that are maybe not freelance journalists tier 2 like me, but people like me that know that they're lying. And cheers. And that's the thing, is that it's kind of always been a thing. If you watch what people do, you can learn their habits. You can learn what they are good at, their strength, their weakness, where they're gonna end up either showing that they're gullible or not gullible, whether they're telling the truth or lying to people. And you can tell just instantly by watching these people, by knowing that this, okay, obviously is going to happen because it always seems to be the thing that happens the most. And we see it. We're not afraid to call it out. We're not afraid to say, hey, this is wrong. Let's do better. Or let's not do that because, you know, they possibly get paid to do it. And this is the situation with these people, is that they know that some of them, like tier 1 media, gets paid to do this stuff. And they get paid to perpetuate lies and deceit because that's their propaganda that they run on. And this is the type of stuff that people see all too well with these tier 1s. Well, conservative, what about the left leaning political commentator YouTubers? it's the same thing with them. They know that when they get called out, push comes to shove, they're either going to have to not do it, or if they continue to do it, they're going to get called out more by people, not just by me, but by people who do watch me, or people that know who I am and that know that this kind of stuff is wrong, what they're pushing, and they start backing or doubling down and trying to act like nothing really bad is going on, or they just do damage control to try to cover up some of the stuff they have said or done. Or they don't at all and don't care because they want to look foolish, more foolish. And leaving it up there after them being called out still does make them look more foolish as a fool. Because they're blind to see that they have been called out. And it's not a bad thing to call them out for it. But when, again, I've talked about this, but I want to do another one talking about this a little bit more in depth because I think it's quintessential to actually just say that, yes, these fake lefty YouTubers that run their mouth and push the same propaganda that the media TIER1 fake news does is foolish to do such thing. And they know that they're foolish to do such thing because they see that people will not only call them out, but will start questioning more. What is it that they're trying to gain from this? Is it attention? Is it that they're allegedly being paid to say it? Is it just because they're bored, they have nothing better to do but try to argue with people because they just don't know how to argue with people, but sit there, take calls, call names, and just act a fool because it's entertainment, rage bait, clickbait, things like that. And that's a good question as to what is their motive and why they do these things. I do question it a lot. But I think the most biggest reason we can see them doing this is not because of alleged foolishness, but partially that too. But a lot of it comes down to because they believe what they're saying the most, just like TIER1 fake news believes what they're saying, and they're pushing out on us. It's very simple to find people that are gullible, that love to indulge in rivalry. Rivalry. They want to prove that Trump supporters are wrong or show how much us Trump supporters are bad people and that we don't have anything in common with these people. Well, we don't, other than we don't like white supremacy, we don't like racism and misogyny and homophobic type narrative being pushed out. But they do. The left does. So we see that they do this because it grabs attention. So, yeah, it could be partially for attention, virtual signaling, maybe other things. Maybe it's definitely what they've been watching. Who knows? It can go multiple ways. And people fall for it. But why do they sometimes not like me? Because a lot of times when I either will join the chat or call in, I bring facts to the table, as always. When it comes to arguing against these things, I do what I do because I've had a lot of years of doing this, such thing. I've been on 24, 25 platforms. Now I'm on 7 because we're starting up again. That's okay. I still get a lot more attention than most of these people do because what I do is more noticeable. I not only bring proof and truth, but I show you guys what is going on. I read reports from both sides, like Fox or CNN or MSNBC or the Daily Beast. I read those things to you people so that you have information from where is the source coming from. Hey, sissy. And I think a lot of that does prove why they fear me. I wouldn't say they hate me, but fear, yes. A lot of intrepidation because they know that I will catch them in a lie instantly. Why Tier 1 and lefty YouTubers fear me? Or do they fear me? I would say yes, they do. Because they know not only will I catch them in the lie, but also I will expose what they say by looking up factual information, correctly correcting them by saying, you're incorrect. Where did you get your source? Questioning their source. That's another thing they don't like is people questioning where do you get your sources from. That's a thing that a lot of people on the left, why Tier 1 and the lefty YouTubers fear me because I question where do they get their content from or their information from, their sources. Because if their sources is coming from MSNBC, ABC, or the Midas Touch, or the Young Turks, I'm instantly going to shut it down and say, well, obviously, we all should know by now what they perpetuate lies, fear mongering, hate, misogyny, racism, lefty, lefty tactics that are always used. But people also will say, conservative, you're foolish to think that these people fear you. No, I'm not foolish. It's a sincerity of knowledge that I know sincerely they do fear me because I've done this long enough. Everybody knows who has watched me before knows that they fear me because they know I will correct them. And not only correct them, but I know how to debate better than they do. I know how to hold myself, whether it is debating the left on their channel, making them try to look not foolish, but look like they're what they're doing is pretty much um, misleading people to believe something that isn't true. You would call it because what they do is misleading. And I try to tell people, here's where you can go for sources. Here's where you can go for information. Check out Conservative Newswave. We do use a lot of different sources from different tier medias, like Tier 1. We do use them a lot. We do use the Daily Beast. We do use Yahoo. We use those because, yes, sometimes they may at one point allegedly lean left or right, but more than likely we just point out this is what's being said from them. They don't like that. They don't like their sources not only being questioned, but it feels a sense of insecurity for them. It makes them feel insecure because they want people to continue to muck it up or yuck it up and believe them and believe the whole trust me, bro, I know what I'm talking about when they don't. That's why a lot of Tier 1s know media know who I am. They know what I do. They know what I'm capable of. They know that A lot of times I'm going to point out whether they're right or wrong, just like I do with the YouTube lefty commentators on YouTube. I point out whether they're right or wrong about something. I may not always agree with them, but I try not to be mean and vindictive towards them. That's another reason why I think they have a lot of intrepidation against me, because they know that I'm going to be calm, cool, collected. I'm going to play nice until they decide to be mean towards me. Then I will let them know maybe we shouldn't have this discussion because you're kind of getting into your feelings, and I don't want you to feel like I am in any way, shape, or form trying to make you feel uncomfortable. I'm trying to balance what we're doing here, have a more productive conversation than not productive. And a lot of times it doesn't go very well because they know that they want it to be unproductive. They want to do an I got you moment, and I'm not going to let them. I think that is why they do kind of have that intrepidation of fear against me, because they know that I'm not going to let them be bullying towards me or put fear into me or get a reaction out of me in any way, shape, or form. I'm more calm, mellow. I know what they're doing. I can tell what they're doing. It's a mind game. You got to be better. You got to play chess. Let them play checkers. Leave the checkers to them, because one day they will learn in due time, hopefully, that they are not going to catch more flies with um, poo than honey, or you catch more flies with honey than you do vinegar and poo, even though poo does attract flies, but honey attracts more. So, how do you attract people? By being honest, not arrogant, not selfish, pompous, and having that mentality that you're knowing it all and you're better than they are. Because that's what they do. They are selfish. They are self righteous. They try to be a little bit of a pompous. They think that they know everything more than you. And it is true. They do. But at the same time, you have to be able to catch more flies with honey than vinegar. You have to maintain your composure and know that this is what they have been taught or told to do, or they learned from the media of Tier 1. Just like Tier 1 does the same thing. They get a little pompous. They're a little arrogant. They're self righteous. They think they know more than anybody else does, which they sometimes may allege that they don't, but it seems like they do, because you can see it by how they act, how they hold themselves and maintain themselves. If they do it, then that obviously will tell you one thing about them, one of many things about them. They will never learn. And that's another thing that I think Tier 1 media and these lefty YouTubers will never do, is learn. Their ignorance is bliss. Ignorance does not win favoritism or win people over. It's how you do it, how you do things. And they do things wrong by looking up media sources that are not very credible, or sources that are copyrighted, that you really are not supposed to use, but they use it anyway sometimes. Or they go into their feelings. A a lot of times when tier one or these lefties go into their feelings, it's not about factual arguments anymore. It's about whose feelings are more valid. And they try to validate their feelings, having their mod silence you, or they just hang up on you because you proved a good point, and they don't want to rise to the occasion that maybe it's okay for them to be wrong once in a while. It's not a bad thing to be wrong. It's called journalism. You do journalism for a reason. You do research for a reason. Not because you want to be right all the time, but because it's not about ego. How do we check these egos? Basically, you have to check your own ego first at the door. You have to remind yourself, do I really feel like I need to ego boost these people? No, you don't want to. Because it's not about bursting ego or trying to make your ego or their ego feel better. It's about what is right here. And that's why they do fear me, because I don't have that ego. I don't think I'm better than they are. I just know I do things differently than they do. And that's why there's a lot of intrepidation against me and us, you viewers out there, because they know that you are part of something that is much bigger than they are. You're on a website. We're on 7 platforms. We basically are now on Google. Google AI Overview picked us up. ConservativeNewsWave.com is on Google AI Overview. That's something that they don't like because you're bigger than they are. And it's not, again, about ego. Sure, that may sound like a big ego boost for me, but it's not. It's good, but they don't like being corrected by somebody that has a higher repertoire of knowledge that is seen a lot more than they are. They're just small potatoes. But in tier one, they're not really small potatoes. They're tier one, which is pretty big. But again, because they know that even tier two freelance journalists like me, or Mark Dice or Benny Johnson out there, will correct and acknowledge that this is what they say and what they are doing and what they are putting out there. They know that a lot of this comes down to they can't bark the loudest when it comes to people that do more research than they can, because they don't have a dog in that fight, and they know better not to put the dog in that fight metaphorically and just back off and fight people that really don't have knowledge or that are not really good at looking at resources at all. It's more about, again, their ego and what can they get out of it and who can they allegedly bully. That's it. So they kind of do allegedly bully sometimes. They try to cut people off or say, hold on, we got to go for a break or whatever. It's because they know that they've been corrected and that they can't bully that person, because that person's not going to double down on what they believe. They're going to stand on the principles and morals and values that they stand on, which is correct. Conservatism, Republican values, we the people value. They know that. And that's what kind of gets them a little bit. It irks their chain, because they know that when people are going to stand on principle, morals, and values, they see that as something that they can't really argue against, because that person's not going to change their mind, and that person's not going to change the tier one media news anchor's mind that's interviewing them or talking with them. They know that. Just like these liberal lefty YouTubers, they know that they can't really change people's minds. They try, they do what they can to try to change the mind of people, but it doesn't always work because people are stuck with what they believe in, the morals and principle values. And that's why, yes, again, I do think that they fear me a little bit more because they know I will not budge. I will be honest and direct. I will call things out down the middle. I will do what I got to do. Whether it's the left or the right doing something wrong, we got to be honest, not disingenuous. Which is why Tier 1, I think, does not only fear me because I point out their disingenuous behavior, but multitude of other things that involve that. Like, I see what they are trying to implement. They're trying to imply by saying Trump's, well, don't you think that Trump's a racist or a white supremacist? I know what that is trying to implement. You're trying to imply or make me think differently of somebody that I support and that I believe is doing a great job by trying to make me think, maybe questioning my stance in where I believe is wrong morally. But at the same time, you're playing this mind game because you want me to randomly just disavow anything that I know that you're saying or that I've been saying as false and believe that everything you're saying is truth for what it is not. That's disingenuous. That's you trying to play games with me. You're trying to imply things that I will not allow you to imply because I'm not going to comply with your belief and stance. And a lot of also comes down to not just those things, but what is it that makes them really fear me the most? I think not just that, but a part of it as well is that they know that what they're doing is kind of shady, kind of flakish. They're doing things because they have no actual principle. They're flakish. A lot of their stance that they believe in is pretty flakish. They like to tiptoe around certain things and call things racist, white supremacist, misogynistic, homophobic, Islamophobic, or whatever phobia that they can come up with. They use these talking points, these flakish talking points, to try to, again, imply that we conservatives are bad people. But what they're really saying is, or not saying is, their belief is absolutely what they want to claim that we conservative MAGA supporters are. They actually are. And they have that flakish standpoint. They don't want to admit that they were wrong. They don't want to acknowledge that these Democrats don't care about them. They don't want to tell you these things. They don't want to tell you that progressives really have never cared about women's rights, black rights, gay rights, any rights but their own because they're flakish. They stand on what they believe or what they, again, were told to believe. Because they like to dodge questions or they like to interrupt, yell, or scream because they think yelling, screaming, or interrupting 1,000 times is going to make them have the other person shut up and be silent, which is them trying to silence us. That's a flake move. That's very flakish. That's obviously something we see them do a lot of. Like when you hear me react to a certain YouTuber, I'm not going to mention his name, but certain YouTuber, he's pretty flakish, isn't he? Yeah, because his stance is not really what they believe, it's what they are. And they just don't want to tell you what they are because it would expose the truth for who they are and what they believe in. They don't understand that lying to people is not only disingenuous, but a flake move. That if they continue to do it, people are going to see more and more of it and not want to be part of it. They're going to want to say, nah, thank you. Because they understand what they are doing. They're feeding into everything that they have been told or taught. They fear me because I try to break that barrier. I try to make them think on their own without just using leftist ideology talking points. I tell them all the time, give me news or a source that is not from a leftist talking point. And then you will say the same thing, like, well, why can't you use something other than Fox? Well, I do. I don't just use Fox News. I don't just use OAN News. I don't use right wing talking points all the time. I look on both sides to see what's going on. I break that barrier. I try to make them think more than what they are comfortable doing. And it hurts their brain majority of the time because they have never done it before. They might have done it a long time ago, but now it's really new to them. They treat it as something that they've never done before. It's kind of mind blowing to them. It's just catch 22. Oh shit, I didn't know that was there. Or oh, I didn't know the DOJ said that. Or I didn't know the FBI said that. That's why. When you talk to them about like black on black crime rates, black fatigue, or you don't hear them talking about it, but you hear us talking about it because it's true. But again, they like to perpetuate what they have been told, and they don't think outside the box that, maybe it's not just white people allegedly committing gun violence at a high rate. Maybe it's other groups that are doing it, minorities that are doing it, different people. Maybe J6 wasn't just allegedly done by Trump supporters. Maybe it possibly could have been an inside job. Interesting. They don't think about those things. They don't think that there is possibilities. It's like a Rubik's cube. You got to move the Rubik's cube in order to figure out the piece of the puzzle to complete the cube. They don't want to complete it by just moving it around and trying to think about, hey, what do I do to solve it? They just want to take the whole cube apart and put it back together all in the same color and say, voila, there we go. Wham, bam, thank me, I'm done. That's what they do. That's their typical movement. That's their notations. And I think a lot of them also not only just do it for their jollies and their kicks and their aha gotcha moments, which is obvious. We know CNN does that, MSNBC does that, ABC, CBS, the Young Turks, Midas Touch. These leftist YouTube commentators do it. They're just looking for an aha gotcha moment. That's all they want from you. They want that attention because they don't, again, want to solve the Rubik's Cube. They just want to take it apart and then try to put it all back in one piece in the same color and claim they did it when they didn't do it at all. They cheated. And they want to manipulate the system. They want to do things that are wrong. And they want to believe that cops are bad. They want to believe that ICE agents are going after people for no apparent reason. Well, there's got to be a reason for everything. Let's be smart here and think about logical reasoning. Let's take out the Trump derangement syndrome for a sec, and that you hate Trump for no obvious reason other than you just hate him because he's doing good, and you don't like him having ICE or cops doing things because you feel like cops are bad and cops just allegedly arrest black people at high ratios, which is obviously not true. Let's think logically. And logical thinking is not only hard for them, but it's a type of psychosis that they have been drifted away from because of what they have been told. It's okay. Just like in the song, Welcome My Son to the Machine. We know where you've been, we know what you've dreamed. The same thing for them. They know what the other lefties are thinking and doing sometimes because it's all just, they're just part of that machine that is being fed, and they don't want to acknowledge it. They don't want to acknowledge we're just trying to help them. And that's where it gets really sketchy, because again, this is why they fear me, I think, because I try to help people understand that this is not something that is just blatantly new to the world. This is obviously something we have been seen and perpetuated by many times by these people, by TIER1, by these fake YouTuber, political commentators. It's nothing new for us to see what they're doing. It's been blatantly obvious. But they want to be okay with what is going on because they feel like capitalism is bad. They hate capitalism. Why? Why do you hate capitalism? Don't you like money? Well, but capitalism can destroy America. How? If we've all this time been in a capitalist society, and you have too, where is the destruction from it? They can't point out their destruction. The destruction of capitalism, of Christianity, or conservatism. They can't point out where it's bad. They have no points. They just want to argue because it maintains their ego and their belief that they're doing the right thing. And they can't understand where they are wrong. This is what happens when you try to dissect, metaphorically, their common denomination of talking points, where they're wrong, what they're doing and acting. You start seeing that it's almost like they're rebelling against America for no apparent reason, because they grew up probably in their life never being told no, or that they were wrong or being punished for any wrongdoing. This is why these people do kind of fear me, because they should be held to the same standards as me and you, as any average person. Any politician should still be held to the same standard. If you're doing something wrong, then you need to suffer the consequences, whether that be you put in jail or you impeached. They can't stand truth. That truthfully, there is things that they are doing not only wrong, but they're implying things that are wrong, that are just naive. Do I again think that they fear me or have intrepidation against me? Yes, because they know that my voice is one of the many voices out there that stand up for what is right. What is right? Capitalism, we the people, the Constitution, the Second Amendment, the Fourth Amendment, the Fifth Amendment. Being able to defend ourselves legally when needing to. They don't like that. They scream, cry, and yell because they're indoctrinated. They're brainwashed. That's all it is. They're afraid of people like me because I'm not brainwashed like they are. I see things for really what it is and how it is. Truth. I see that people, yes, hate me for who I am. They will call me a liar. They will say many evil, vindictive things towards me. Do I care? No. It just shows that they're childish. People do this because they're childish. Just like the Tier 1 fake news media. They go to childish mannerisms because they can't control themselves. They have no self-control. They lack thereof self-control. Just like these fake YouTuber political commentators. They lack self-control. They really honestly, just like Tier 1 and the fake left political commentators, they have no self-respect. They don't see themselves as being better or could be better, doing better things. They just lack that of character. They don't have the character in their heart to see that they are good people, that there can be good people out there fighting for a good cause, but they're not fighting for the right cause. They're fighting for the wrong reasons. And I think the wrong reason is because they fear what they don't know, because they've been told all their life there's something under their bed. There's something always watching them. Well, yeah, our government does watch us. Cell phones, smart TVs, cameras. But that's not what truly we should all fear. But yes, we should kind of be afraid of it and aware of it. But they turn it into this big, it's all Trump's fault, it's all MAGA, it's all Republicans, conservatives, this and that. No. They lack the character of being self-reliant and having self-respect and dignity and integrity to not only do what's right, but finally just wake up and say no more. They don't want to do that. Sad. So anyway, that's where I got to go with that. But anyway, don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe. Love you guys.